Welcome back to Witness. Lebanon is home to hundreds of thousands of refugees, many of them fleeing the conflict in Iraq. But their illegal status in Lebanon makes life there precarious, and they are desperate for a settled solution. Despite the struggle to make ends meet and the threat of imprisonment, for many Muslims and now increasing numbers of Christian Iraqis, refugee status is still far better than the option of staying in Iraq.
For Iraqi refugees in Beirut, football is often the only escape from the daily insecurity. But this small pleasure has a price. $3 each. May not seem a lot, but Qusay's family has $300 a month to pay the landlord and buy food for 7. When the money is needed elsewhere, video games will have to do. Qusay was lucky to survive a suicide bombing. His 2 brothers were killed and his brother-in-law was kidnapped. Now he's stuck in a country that is trying to send him back to Iraq, and he is running out of options. Like many of the Iraqi refugees, he is pinning his hopes on a future in America.
بدي اسوي لي مستقبل هنيك. هون نحن بلد عربي، صح هذا بلدي انا الثاني، بلد عربي ما بقدر بعمل مستقبلي، انا كمان شاب يعني بدي اصير كبير واتجوز واعيش عائله يعني هنيك على الاقل شوي في مصاري. هون نحن جايين من هناك ولا عندنا مصاري، على الاقل هناك بيعطونا حقوق يعني بيعطونا حقوقنا. بأمريكا. إيه شو هي الفائدة إذا برجع لنا يعني ليذبحونا شو يعني هلا قاتلين إخواني وبي ميت وأخي ميت 3 يعني 4 من البيت ميت. يعني كيف بروح هناك ليقتلونا كلياتنا نحن كمان ما بنقدر نرجع يعني.
The final straw was when they received a bullet and this letter from a local militia, telling them they would be slaughtered like cattle.
خايفين كنا يعني ما عم ننام ما عم نقدر لا ننام بالليل ولا بالنهار يعني كنا خايفين أي وقت بيدخلوا علينا بيقتلونا بيذبحونا كان بدنا أسرع وقت يعني لنطلع من العراق ونحن أسرع وقت طلعنا يعني ما لحقنا نعمل شيء مع عدد جوازات أخذناها وطلعنا وبس داينا أخذنا مصاري من العالم هنيك قلنا بس نشتغل نبعث لكم إياها وهلا مصاري هون عندنا ما لحقنا بس يعني لنطلعنا بأسرع وقت. بفكر ببلدي يعني بنقهر بدي بحس نفسي ببكي بس بالقلب يعني وهلا قلبي عم يبكي يعني مش بالمنظر وبالمظاهر ما في احلى من البلد وبالاخص ما في احلى من العراق لانه العراق غني من النفط وبالكل بحس ايامي بالعراق مع اصدقائي مع الشيء اللي بنعمله بالعراق اصدقائي كلهم هلا هون يعني عم بيسافروا كمان.
For Qusay and his family, the only way out of Lebanon and their life in limbo is to get resettled through the UN refugee agency UNHCR. This painstaking process can last for years, involving many interviews and applications, but Qusay sees it as the only hope they have.
يعني الملف بعد ما يندرس اوكي في محللين واشخاص خبراء بيدرسوا الملف قبل حتى ما يتقدم على الوفد حتى بصير في تنسيق اكيد مع الوفد ان كان امريكي او غير وفود بصير في تنسيق معهم تبعدين يكون حاضر الملف ويتقدم.
صار 8 اشهر ما عم يتلفوني ولا هي بدي اعرف شو النتيجه تبعي بدي اعرف انه في امل ام لا مشان انا بالي يرتاح وراسي يرتاح. انا جيت هون هلا لقدم الطلب صار لي 11 12 مره ما بتذكر يعني ما عديتهم وكل اسبوع بيجي مره كل اسبوع بيجي مره اذا ما بتيجي بتضغط عليهم ما بيعملوا لك شيء.
Most people are in need, but some people are more in need than others. And then this is where it's becoming extremely difficult. Between someone who has been subject to extreme forms of violence and someone who has been witnessing violence, it's very difficult to assess which one is the most vulnerable.
Here, the refugees are filed away in the 4th floor filing cabinets. However, General Castano gets his profiles directly from the streets of Beirut. A cafe in the suburbs is a hub of information for him to know what is happening and to whom.
لا رح نرجع نحصل المصاري رح نرجع نحصلهم ان شاء الله. لا عم نحكيهم رح نرجع نحصلهم
مشان الغلسه تبع الكريتا العراقيين
مشان السفر يعني
مشان السفر
اي بعد لهلا ما انحلت يعني في اتصال بالحكومة
هلا
هلا.
على المسافر يعني
كل على
بعرف
المسافر. تعرف في ناس كثير ما في عندهم يعني. عندك علم فيها يعني؟
عندي علم فيها.
على مثلا الصحافه وهيك يعني.
كيف؟
بيفيد مشان واحد يحكي مشان
لا
الصحافه.
هلا هيدا بالذات لا، بس عم نحكي مع المسؤولين هلا، مع الامن العام والحكومه. في احتمال للحل بس مش بيومين ثلاثه، بدها وقت. بدها يمكن وقت اكثر من كم يوم.
شو دخلوا نعم؟ هي على الكاريتاس كان بيدفع نص.
كانت الامم تدفع بعدين على الكاريتاس.
نص
لا هلا الكاريتاس ما عادش عندهم مصاري، يعني المبلغ اللي كان مرصود خلص.
Today, the elders of the community are keen to talk to the general about their most pressing concern. They feel trapped because even when they are offered resettlement, the Lebanese authorities demand a fine for having entered the country illegally. At up to $400 per refugee, this runs into the thousands for large families. For most, it's an impossible sum.
In 5-6 years, how many were resettled? Very few of them. The percentage of the families who were resettled in Europe or the United States or Australia. And they can't return to Iraq. They cannot return. They don't want to return. Even when the church or the Lebanese government says we cannot accept you anymore, you have to go back, they prefer to remain here clandestine, illegally, and try to survive.
Back in South Beirut, Ziad's harrowing prison time has left him with a more immediate need. For him, the only place to get some medical attention is at this center, run by Lebanon's largest aid agency, Caritas.
جيت على الكاريتاس مشان هذا كيس الدهن اللي عندي بظهري وعندي مي بأجري. جيت لأشوف علاجي.
For Christian Iraqi refugees, it's often spiritual healing that they seek. Sunday Mass provides the opportunity to come together with different generations of Iraqis and feel that sense of belonging they so desperately desire. Lebanon was an obvious choice for many of these Iraqi refugees, as it's the only country in the region with a large Christian population. But even here, they feel unwelcome, and resettlement is their only hope.
The Iraqis came at a very difficult moment. They arrived here, several thousand Christians, and for more than 2-3 years, the Christian society in Lebanon was not aware of their presence and was not ready to interact, to sympathize, to support, until very recently. And we can understand the Lebanese Christians. They had already their problems. What is the solution? Will they return to Iraq? From all the feedback and echoes that we get right now, the Christians have a lot of difficulty in accepting this idea of returning. We called for the return, we encouraged the return, but we understand that they are not very hopeful of the stability and their existence, their acceptance in the new Iraq.
Whilst Qusay is trying hard to focus on the here and now, his life is in suspense, and unable to make plans for the future, he is haunted by the violent past in Iraq. At an internet cafe where he surfs the web, he discovered footage of the suicide attack which injured and traumatized him. He finds himself watching it again and again.
عم يقتلوا روح البشر يعني الجسد والروح البشر يعني شو عم يستفيدوا؟
Not all memories are painful. For General Castano, his family album is proof that even though refugees, his own parents and grandparents were welcomed and settled in Lebanon. Yet whilst there, we were interrupted by a reminder of how still today the Iraqis come to Lebanon in search of a better future. The next family had arrived.
لا هي المرأة عندها بنتين بس صبايا يعني ولوحدهم. كمان هيدا بيهمني لأنه هودي جداد وصلوا ما عندهم شيء بعد. يعني ما عندهم لا سكن لا ولا شيء. بعد ما عندهم ولا شيء يعني واصلين جديد ما صار لهم أسبوع 10 أيام. هلا قاعدين مؤقتا بشقة قدم لهم إياها شخص وبدنا نجرب ننقلهم على مطرح يستقروا فيه.
As General Castano makes his way to meet the latest arrivals, he knows that his work alone will not solve the crisis. The people of Beirut continue to live their lives in the hope of extended stability, while the continuing flow of Iraqi refugees try to make their way to any country that will accept them. But with the borders closed to Iraqis, the security they are looking for still eludes them.
An ongoing and desperate problem for Iraqi refugees in Lebanon. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time on Witness.